On this final translation segment, I wanted to give people an update on what's happening with this situation with former President Trump and Univision. You may or may not have seen that recently uh, Trump appeared on Univision, not on like a Sunday talk show with Jorge Ramos, not on a debate because he didn't go to the debates. And Univision was actually part of the last Republican debate, which was fine, which is what they're supposed to do. We're supposed to, and Elia Calderon, shout out to her, actually at the last Republican debate she was a part of, which was debate 2, I believe, not too long ago, asked some very real good questions. Actually, was the only real journalist in the space, and actually the far right wing gave her backlash because she was doing her job as an Afro Latina. So, but nevertheless, Univision recently didn't do kind of the formal, political interviews. They literally they blocked off 10 p.m. East Coast prime time, which is like the top time slot during the week for Univision. And básicamente gave him essentially a 1-hour infomercial. The reporter, Enrique Acevedo, very softball questions, didn't challenge him on anything, didn't fact him on Trump on anything. A full hour, fam, of this. The Spanish translations was kind of sanitized versions of his answers, so people weren't really getting the real thing he was saying if you didn't know English. And it basically was and they canceled ads that President Biden campaign had bought during that hour. So kind of breaking all the rules and just sort of unprecedented access, not just to any politician, which would be questionable, but someone that has laid out a very clear anti-Latino, anti-immigrant, authoritarian agenda, si gana next year. And so I'm proud to report to y'all. And there's a lot of shakiness going on there with, if you dig into it, Televisa, which is a Mexican media company, bought like 40-something% when we showed a few years ago. They were known in Mexico to, kind of play footsies with Mexican politicians and kind of have this real cozy, uncomfortable propagandist relationship with political figures in Mexico and in Latin America. So, this is all real troubling stuff. Jared Kushner's in this conversation. The executives of Univision were physically present at the interview at Mar-a-Lago. They let him do it there. Like, it's very, very shaky stuff. And so I'm proud to report, as the executive director of the Unidos US Action Fund, we were very proud to sign on to a letter that our great friends at America's Voice, which is a kind of our go-to organization for messaging related to immigration issues in our space, led a letter that over 90 community organizations have signed. And as you can see on the screen, if you're watching the YouTube version of the show, this was a tweet that I sent out recently that laid out our support, not only for this letter, but calling on Univision to tighten up their journalistic game and really provide Latinos balanced, as I state in my tweet, provide our community balanced and factual information about political candidates and just leading up to, and the political issues impact leading up to the 2024 elections. So I will put in the YouTube notes, and we will continue to share on social media the content of the letter. And our parent organization, Unidos US, led by our president and CEO, Janet Murguia, have actually requested, along with other 501c3 national organizations, a meeting with Univision CEO Wade Davis and other top senior Univision executives, so we can address this issue and ask some very, pertinent questions as to why they provided not just any political figure, which would be one thing, but this political figure that has a blatant anti-Latino agenda, an anti-immigrant agenda. I mean, he wants to put us in concentration camps, this guy, literally internment camps, and deport millions upon millions of people that are contributing to our economy and a part of our families. This sort of unprecedented access and unquestioned access to our community. So more to come on that. I'll continue to update people on if Univision responds, if we get meetings, and what's sort of the outcome of this really troubling situation. And it really speaks to how we have to continue to be vigilant to make sure that our community has accurate information about what's going on. And so I would encourage people to watch, to check out. And again, we'll put the link in the note. Julio and Varela put a very good article out, kind of laying out how this interview really tries to pit Latinos against each other. And Trump, throughout the interview, and I encourage people to read the English language transcript online, which again we'll put links in the YouTube in the show notes for this show. How he really, first of all, panders to us. Oh, you guys are wonderful, especially the ones that work so much. And Latinos really take pride in being workers. Latinos that are in law enforcement, and the good Latinos, the ones that lock other Latinos up, and the ones, the real successful ones that work hard, not like you other lazy ones, and the ones that have your papers. And so there's kind of like this pandering element, but also, honestly, some lessons the Biden campaign can learn around how to sort of speak to Latinos around, the importance to us around security issues, and honoring our entrepreneurial spirit and kind of our place in society. Now, Trump's full of it when he does it. Trump is patronizing when he does it. Trump is dividing us when he does it, but he's doing it. And so Biden and Democrats need to take, believe it or not, need to take a few lessons that you can glean sort of within a whole lot of nonsense in that transcript, and just also shows that people are not people haven't seen a lot of Trump, and he's not. You're going to see that he's even more unhinged and not communicating as well as he did even 3-4 years ago. He's getting up there, and he's he's got some issues. But as we've seen from polling, Latinos, because of the overall sour mood of the country, this Israel, from sort of the left perspective of the Latino community, this Israel-Hamas conflict is really, and how the U.S. has approached this conflict has really soured younger Latinos and more progressive Latinos in this administration. So there's lots of challenges. Now, will those people go to Trump? I don't think so. But at the same time, the polling suggests that, while Trump certainly seems to have a ceiling between third-party candidates, between the potential of youth voters and other people that are part of the traditional Democratic and Biden coalition just staying home next year, there's definitely a possibility Trump could win next year, or another Republican candidate. So there's lots of factors, and I'll finish the Found Translation segment with just a couple words on that, because a good friend of mine, the Cuban lad Nissan Liam, hope he doesn't mind me shouting him out, DM'd me the other day and said, "Hey Ralph, hey Ray, ¿qué va a pasar next year? Like, what do you think will happen?" And the first thing I could say is that I think the first thing I answered him was, so many things will change in 11 months. Just our history accelerates so quickly now. And just think about it. 7 weeks ago, October 7th in Israel hadn't happened, where Hamas, shamefully attacked, killed those people. And, we're happy to see that it appears some hostages will be released in the coming hours. And all those innocent lives in Palestine hadn't been killed. And all this global tension between that really has so many underlying tones around race, somewhat religion, but I think honestly more race and colonialism than anything. And so not just people in the United States, but people of color all over the world are reacting to, this, they're not being red lines. And well, if a bunch of brown people have to die, then so be it. Seemingly attitude by, some would argue, well, certainly is the leadership of Israel, and the general approach, the perception of how the United States, with funding and general support of the government, has perceived this. But nevertheless, there's lots that are going to happen. Trump, you're going to see more of Trump, and it ain't going to be pretty, fam. You're going to understand more of what he's preaching now, which is a different tune than 2016, even 2020. He's literally laying out blueprints around not just this cracking down on unprecedented crackdown on immigrants, but this crackdown on authoritarians. Your loved ones that have federal jobs may lose them, because he's looking to replace basically the federal government employee base with his minions. And so lots and lots of dangerous stuff that continues to take place. And as well, the damage that's already been done around abortion, affirmative action, the attack on voting rights, that would just be accelerated in a potential Trump administration. So that's going to be more in front and center than it's been in an international debate next year. the trials. He could be convicted. He could be put in jail. Your gas price could go down some more. Well, and the flip side, the economy could take a more of a nosedive. And there's so many things. Biden could have health issues. There's lots of things that the Middle East could get worse. So there's lots of factors. So it's hard to kind of put my finger on it. But I think ultimately the challenge for Biden and the Democrats will be to address some of the real concerns that our community has, particularly in the Latino community, around the economy, around how, as Cardi B has in her way shared, how this administration is prioritizing our communities, in our cities, and our young people and our working people that are trying to get ahead and are working harder than ever in some degree, but are not feeling like they're getting ahead because of the costs of everything, and the difficulty in buying a home, and some of the other challenges that's impacting working and middle class people in this country day to day, and addressing this underlying concern that the underlying dynamics, what's going on in the Middle East, is showing that the unevenness of how we approach these issues as it relates to race, and that's not going to go away with a couple campaign ads. There's got to be some real reckoning, some real conversation, engagement, and honestly, there also has to be a promotion of some of the movement that this administration has done. I mean, this negotiation with hostages, this 5-day pause. While many of us are disillusioned by the rhetoric of the administration, it seems pretty clear to me that behind the scenes they're looking to have a more balanced approach, and are not happy that of the violent the violence that's taken place on both sides of that border in the Middle East. So I don't know what's going to happen, but that gives you kind of a sense of the unpredictability, but some of the fundamentals that we have going into the 2024 election. The good news from a Democratic perspective is when you poll people around the country, especially Latinos, they're with us on the issues, and Latinos generally have a certain set of beliefs. If you look at what the Democrats are doing, they're generally doing those things or trying to do those things. The challenge is communicating that in a way that people feel it's connected to their day-to-day lives. We're going to take a very quick break and then come back with a quick Bomba Live sports segment. So we have the Ricky Martin picture. We got to show it. Come on, fam. We got to show it. All right, Dios mío, look at that. Come on, Ricky and Betty, tell us this story, my friend.
Yes, Ricky Martin, Ruben. Actually, Sweet Sensation was on tour with Menudo for a minute. Okay. Cover Girls were on tour. It was Cover Girls, Sweet Sensation, Menudo at the time. This is right before Ricky left the group. That's Ruben right next to him, I believe. Yeah. So, we had so much fun being on tour with Menudo. Now, meanwhile, talk about surreal. I was 14 years old with my best friend from across the street, Sonia, scoping out all the hotels that Menudo was in because I was a big Menudo fan. I love Menudo. I still love Menudo.